Yeah, that's right. I see the chat. I see y'all rocking. I see y'all coming. Hit that like button as you enter the building. You know what I'm saying? Hit that like button. Show your love. Show your support. You know what I'm saying? This that dope soul. This that new thing. Nobody don't know about it.
Hello, Knick family. Welcome to Lunchtime Live, Knicks recap and reaction show. The Knicks opened up a can of whoop ass on the Boston Celtics. I don't get a chance to say that enough, but they did that last night. I believe it was 111-89. And if I remember correctly, it was the lowest scoring game for the Boston Celtics this season. Way for the Knicks to bounce back from a terrible low energy game versus Detroit, even down rotation players. I'm your host, Stephanie, aka Queen. I'm joined by my co-host, the fantabulous Geoff Klafter from the Happily Ever Klafter Daily Sports Blog. Shout out to the chat in here early. Appreciate you, Geoff. Just your overall thoughts on the game before we dive into it.
Well, first of all, exactly what you said. Great way to bounce back. But I think what you said right before we got on is maybe the most pertinent point, is that, we can't get too low after a performance like Detroit, and we can't get too high off of a performance like Boston. I mean, they shot 7 of 41 from three. And now, they could have had, 6 more makes and they still would have lost the game. But so I think some shot variance probably goes into that, but that's not to take anything away from what the Knicks did. They had a terrible performance and they rectified it. And I know we'll get into the specifics of the who and the how a little bit later, but if you told me that we were going to go through the stretch of Denver at home, at Detroit, and at Boston and come out 2-1 and be 9-1 in our last 10 games, you take that 10 times out of 10. So kudos to them for doing that. But, the work's not finished, because we're 9-1 in our last 10 games, and we picked up at most 2 games on everybody within the top 6 in the Eastern Conference, because everybody is at the top half of the league is playing really well right now, from Philadelphia and Cleveland and everybody who's in that top area. So you just have to keep pushing and keep moving with this really solid upper crust of the Eastern Conference, and that made yesterday a critical win, because you lose that game and you're 2 games behind Boston in the standings, and not that you don't have time to make that up, but that's it's also the second win of the season against Boston. We play them one more time, so that worst that we're tied with them, and if we win that game, we have the tiebreaker overall for the season. All of those things matter for seeding, and I think that's kind of the perspective we need to keep in mind too, as we go through, not just game to game, but how does our overall picture look as far as getting to the postseason? Where are we at in the standings? How did things look? And things are very tight 2 through 6 right now. So kudos to them for an excellent performance, but the context behind the game equally as important as what happened inside the game, which tons of fun stuff to talk about there.
Yeah. I appreciate you, Geoff, for giving us the macro. The Knicks are playing well, to your point, 9-1 over the last 10. But the other teams in this, as you say, the upper crust of the Eastern Conference, they're playing well also. So right now it's a dogfight, and it might be that for the rest of the season, as far as seeding is concerned. Hopefully the Knicks have an opportunity to pull away, and get some distance between them and the teams behind them. But like you said, everyone is playing playing well right now in this Eastern Conference. But back to last night's game, there's so many places we can start. But if it's okay with you, I want to start with Brunson. Sure. We could talk about the Knicks, how they bounced back, but part of it was Brunson bouncing back. He was, in my opinion, really, really good last night. I thought his process was good. There was I was looking at my notes this morning. There was some times in the third quarter where I thought, it was too Brunson, Brunson centric. But the way he was playing, I'm not going to, I'm not going to complain too much. He was really sharp last night. He came back in. First of all, he got us off to a good start. I think he had 15 points in the first quarter, maybe, if I'm not mistaken. But then in that fourth quarter, he came back in and scored like 5 or 7 straight points. And the next thing we're back up by 10. I believe he assisted on 33, either scored or assisted on 33 of our first 60, whatever many points we scored in that first half. So he was phenomenal in terms of scoring and looking for people, really using his gravity. His process has been so much better over the past, 5 games or so, maybe this entire stretch, something we've talked about a lot. And if that continues, where he's become almost like a maestro, in the sense of I can score it and then with my gravity, if I get too much attention, he's making the right decisions and those players are coming through in terms of hitting the shots, together with our improved defense, things are really, really looking up for the Knicks. But that's what the good ones do, though. This is what the good ones do. Every great player has a bomb. They just have a terrible game. I've seen Magic Johnson have a terrible game in the playoffs. I've seen Isaiah Thomas throw the ball away to Larry Bird. Like, it's going to happen, but the great ones always respond, and that's JB. We got one of those guys, in my opinion, and not to belabor the point. I've learned from doing this show and watching the Knicks as closely as I've watched, not to get too carried away not to infer too much from a bad performance, a good performance, a bad stretch, a good stretch, right? We lose to Detroit. Jalen Brunson he can't deal with the length and physicality of Detroit, even though in the playoffs, which is a higher leverage series, I think he averaged over 30 points, if I'm not mistaken, against them. But one game he struggles. Now he has difficulty with physicality. So I'm just learning, we go on that 2-9 stretch. This team needs major changes. They're not good. Now we're 9-1. Oh, now we championship. So I'm just learning, over this stretch to take it in, but not to infer too much and to. We know JB over, we've seen him now. This is his 5th year here, Geoff, or 4th?
I think so. 4th year, at least 4.
We've seen him over time. We've seen Cat over time, not just here, but, with Minnesota. We've seen these players over time. So there's no sense of a bad game or a good game. Same thing with our young players. Oh my God, this guy is going to be great. I've seen Ntilikina have really, really good games. You know what I mean? You just have to allow things to play themselves out. That's my spiel. That's my public service announcement for today. Geoff, anything on Brunson and wherever else you want to, and where you want to go next?
Well, I love how you frame that. I think that's extremely accurate. And the one exception to Brunson's process being good was the Detroit game, right? That was the game where he kind of tried to take it on himself and try and beat his guy Thompson off the dribble, over and over again, and his shot wasn't working either, and so he really struggled, and the results kind of spoke for themselves, and part of that is probably missing Towns and Anunoby, but Anunoby didn't play in this one, and we put up probably our best defensive performance of the season, because this is an elite offense that we played, right? That's not the same thing as 66 points by the Brooklyn Nets. You know what I mean? It's a completely different animal. It's a far more impressive performance, and so it was good to see Jalen back in his comfort zone and attacking and really being good. And I think to where we want to go next, I think that this is a good segue. And Queen told me, and when Queen talks, I should listen better after all the time we've been together. But she told me, she said, Geoff, you're really going to like this, Jose Alvarado. You're really going to like this, Jose. We're really going to like this, kid. And I was like, I'm really going to like a 6 foot kid who doesn't shoot the ball better than 35%.
Right,
he played one game, and I'm already like, I like this Jose Alvarado. And I'll tell you what possession stood out to me the most, and I'd love your thoughts on it. So, the Celtics are famous for hunting Jalen Brunson. Right. And so they would bring the screen, and every time the Celtics would come with the screen, Alvarado would switch. And so the Alvarado switch prevented them from getting Brunson into the action the way that they wanted to have him do it. And he did it like 3 times on one possession, and it melted the shot clock. It forced them into a bad look. And it was just, it was just music to my ears. It was just such a great dichotomy of what you can do when you have not only a dog as an on-ball defender, but someone who's intelligent enough to be able to see what the other team is trying to do and to neutralize that on the fly without having much experience playing with these. This is his first time on the court with these guys. And so, Alvarado reminds me of, and I'm sure this may be a cliche. I don't know. Some of you may not have heard it, but it's not the size of the dog in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the dog. And man, has this dog got some fight in him. He's tough. And not every game is going to be, where he gets 12 points and everything, and his offense is about what we expected, right? He didn't shoot the ball great from 3. But he made shots. The playmaking wasn't necessarily there yet, but you got to give that time. He's only been with his teammates for a day, right? So that's going to come along. But even so, he had 2 assists to just 1 turnover. But the defense and the steals and the physicality at the point of attack was superior to anything we saw from Deuce McBride, and that's not meant as a slight to Deuce at all. I mean, I was just super impressed with the game that Alvarado had. Now, that doesn't mean that he's going to do that every time, but as far as a Knick debut, stellar.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't surprised, though. Like, I feel like he did what he does. It was just good to see him do it in his first game. Like, he didn't even look out of place. He didn't look lost at all. He picked up the Boston Celtics handlers 94 feet. Like, as soon as they picked it up, he was there. Multiple steals, didn't give up on the play. I think he shot an air ball or took a bad shot, and he hustled back down the court, got into the play, and I think that was the play in which he poked it away and was able to get a layup on the other end. He ran a pick and roll with Cat. One time I saw him, ask somebody to clear out so he can get the ball to Cat. He has a little floater. He hits a few threes. Matter of fact, that 3 that he took, I was like, oh, like the confidence, to take the 3 that he did. Mike Brown played him and Brunson together, usually where he would bring in Kolick in that 4th quarter. And it may have even happened in the 2nd quarter. I don't recall. He brought in Alvarado. And Alvarado played together with Brunson. And I know some were saying, oh, they too short to play together. But I knew Mike Brown would do it because he's been doing it all season. And I think he had him in there with Diawara, Bridges, maybe Mitch. I'm not sure. But, he had him in there with some good defensive players behind them. And, Alvarado is a plus defender in my opinion, even though he does give up height. But this is not like, remember in the 80s, Geoff? If there was a mismatch, they would go to that mismatch over and over. They don't do that in today's game. Like, Alvarado would have been off the court because they would have just posted him up over and over and over again till you had to take him out, out the game. But they don't do that in today's NBA. So you're able to get away with it a little bit. And physically, I don't know. He's light, don't get me wrong, but he's still physical, if that makes sense. So yeah, I like the way he played, and I'm interested in the chat and your thoughts on, him. It seems like he's taking Kolek's spot. But it's interesting that they, as well as Kolek has been playing throughout the season for the most part, and I mean, he's had games where he wasn't great, that they sought to bring somebody in, right? Like it wasn't like Kolek is playing well. I think we can chill with that they sought to bring someone in. So Knick Nation is in the chat. I'm interested in what he thinks about both Kolek not getting minutes and them trading for someone to essentially take his place. I don't think Docosaurus is here yet, but just your thoughts on that.
Well, I think that that's one of the things that you talked about for a long time. We need another point guard in here. We got to have three, and you got to have that extra layer of depth, and he provides that, and so he's a different player than Kolek too, in that, and I think that it makes it easier to play alongside of Brunson because he can guard where Brunson can't, and so he can and he can allow him to play off ball, and that makes a huge difference. But just the impact and the energy, as you said, he's the first time on the floor with the team, and he already looked like he was aggressive and trying to push the pace and be a leader. But what I liked is when he came up to Jalen and he's like, "Well, what do I need to do to make your life easier? How do I help you?" And Jalen was just like, play your game, be yourself, and it's all going to work out, my guy. Like we trust you. The front office wanted to bring you here, and obviously Leon Rose and company had been looking at him and targeting him for a long time, so they had a pretty good indication that he was going to fit in really well here. And it kind of reminds me when we acquired Josh Hart from Portland, right? The results were instantaneous and obvious. Like, oh, yeah, that's why they like this guy. He allows the Knicks to play a different way. He gives us a lot more versatility, and he has playoff experience. Let's be honest. I mean, he's a guy who had very good games against the Phoenix Suns in the playoffs once upon a time, and so and he was, Chris Paul was the point guard there at that time, and so he has high leverage game reps. More so than Kolek does. So, you never know how someone's going to perform in the playoffs until they're in the playoffs, right? Well, we have more of a book on what Alvarado would do than we do with Kolek. That's not necessarily, that's not Kolek's fault, but it's just a fact, right? And so, and I feel like this team needed the depth that Alvarado provides. I like that he can come in and play point guard and run the team.
Not just in form, not just, with the point guard. It's like to actually play point guard.
Yeah. Set the guys up. We're running pick and roll with Towns right now. Like, y'all get out of the way, clear out so I can get my man the ball, and we're going to go to work. Those kinds of things. That generalship is important, and he can provide that. And wow, just it's just one game, but very impressed with him as a player. And I don't watch the Pelicans, so I never watched him play. Like I just. And it's one of those things where sometimes the stats don't tell the whole story, and he's just one of those players like Mitchell Robinson. The stats don't tell the whole story, and I think he could be a real difference maker down the stretch for us and this is the one thing else I wanted to say is that we finally have a solution for the slow white guard who hits 8,000 threes against us, the TJ McConnells, the Peyton Pritchards, for the first time in forever, we have a guy who can neutralize that. I don't remember it was such a relief to say Peyton Pritchard was like 2 of 9 and from the field and 1 of 6 from 3. That never happens when the Knicks play him, it seems, although we did, I guess, get one of those performances earlier in the year. But I think I'm going to give Alvarado a ton of credit for that. I think he played like 25 minutes, so clearly he's here as a rotation piece every much as bit of Shamet it was at the beginning of the season when we saw him. So, yeah, I think that we can expect Kolek to sit a lot more moving forward if that guard rotation is healthy.
Yeah, I think there's something going on with my internet. So let me know if you can't hear me.
I can hear you, but you kind of freezing up sometimes, like on the video. But I've been able to hear you the entire time.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure why that is, but this is what Mike Brown said. He brings a level of toughness to this team. His energy is unmatched. What he can do defensively in the full court and even in the front court, which with the ball, especially on the pick and roll and stuff, is at a pretty high level. He shoots it better than people think. We want to play fast, and we believe he's a guy who will come in and push the pace, get into our offense, and all of that because he's quick and has a low center of gravity. Excited to have him. So he's a point guard, and in the sense that he knows how to run action and sets and knows how to get you, in your offense. It's going to be interesting to see, watching him up close. What do we need right now? Like if he's one of those, like, give me the ball. No. We need to, go over here. And maybe that's too much to ask for somebody who's, just backing up. The other thing I saw last night, and I hope this changes, is that when Brunson and Alvarado was in the game together, Brunson was still on the ball a lot. And I'm just hoping that's just because this was his first game. I would really like to see when they're in the game together that Brunson can play off ball a little more. I think comfortable off ball, not just, quick, give it back to me. So if he can do that, then we can really unlock Brunson off the ball even more. And I think that bodes well for us moving him around.
And the other cool thing is if he's not playing well, it's okay to, like, he's a part of the team that we need, but if he's having a bad game, you can try a Kolek. You have more versatility. You can do different things with the lineup now, but to have that option, especially defensively, is just a big boon for us. I think I really would have liked to have seen him in the Detroit game, to be honest with you, just to show what he can do and how he can impact the game, and playing fast and under control. Like, I think that's important too, is that the Knicks want to push the pace. They want to play faster. Well, here's a guy, if you get the rebound, he's off to the races. And that's, that's one of the things that Mike Brown has preached: get it across the timeline quickly, and then, within 3 seconds, and then run our stuff. And he's capable of doing both. And so that's really good. And if you have he and Brunson on the floor at the same time, you can't just blitz or play Brunson 94 feet and prevent us from getting in our offense, because he could just make one quick pass to Alvarado and here we go. And that unlocks the offense from that perspective. So very excited to see how that plays out moving forward, but you couldn't have asked for a more auspicious debut than the one that he gave us.
Yeah, and you said earlier he was in the playoffs in 2022 and 2024. Yeah, I'm just excited to see what else he brings to the game. I guess I want to go with Diawara last night, who is really growing nicely in his first season with the Knicks. His shooting is coming around from three. His defense has always been good, but it's one thing to play off the ball. It's another thing for a coach to say, listen, I'm going to switch you on to Jaylen Brown. Like, that's something totally different. And he did a really, really good job. And Mike Brown makes this a point without fouling. Like, I don't want to get you sending him to the line. He did a really good job without fouling on Jaylen Brown, made it difficult for him. And I just like the way Mike Brown is using him, picking the spots when to use them, starting them sometimes, not starting them at other times, playing them sometimes in the first half, sometimes no more, but just really, really bringing him along. And you can see the growth in his game, and the players trust him too. Listen, I've watched the Knicks in years past where somebody was open in a corner and the ball wouldn't go there. If they didn't trust you, they would just swing it back the other way, but they really trust him. And if he's open, they will hit him, and he's been delivering. So just a really good game from Diawara last night and overall. Any thoughts?
Yeah, first of all, he's not even old enough to purchase beer. Like, he's a 20-year-old kid, and golly, can he play? I love his mentality. I love his IQ. I love his motor. And we've seen it in flashes throughout the season, but I really yesterday was unbelievable. I mean, to have to I know that I know Brown had 26 points, but he needed 25 shots to do it. He missed all of his 3-point attempts. He just made his life difficult from pillar to post. He, kind of like with Alvarado, playing the ball 94 feet, getting into it, disrupting, making them take difficult shots late in the shot clock, stuff that's off schedule. And Brown is capable of making those looks too, because he's on an all NBA performer. But to come in and on a night when not only did he replace a lot of what OG Anunoby does, in some aspects he did it better, because I don't know that I've ever seen OG lock up Brown specifically like that. And so on that night, I'm not saying he's a better player than Anunoby. He's not, but I'm just saying to have him come in and give that kind of superlative effort and then make every shot that he took. Like, I think he was 4 of 4 and he hit a couple of threes. So, you're certainly not going to expect that to continue, but we've got a good young player on our hands, a guy who's deserving in minutes, and I think maybe a guy that you can trust to back up those 3 and 4 when we have injuries, and trust him to do a good job. I know Mike Brown is more in his corner every day. Like, he just keeps on impressing and impressing and impressing. So Diawara's Kumo D is rapidly becoming one of my favorites. I love the way he thinks the game. He's got a high IQ and great motor. He's really going to be down the line. I think in 2 or 3 years, he's going to be a really good rotation player. Interesting though, we're going to have to, he's on a 1-year deal, so he's earning himself a second contract. So that's going to be an interesting part to the puzzle too. And I don't think that we have. I don't think we had the same contract structure that we had with Huck-Porty. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about this before. The Knicks are going to have to decide who their core is, because you're not going to be able to keep. You're not going to be able to keep everyone. Alvarado is on I think he has a player option.
Yes.
For next season. They may want to bring Shamet back. Mitch, they have to make a decision on. McBride is under contract for next year, though he is extension eligible. Diawara, so there's some decisions to be made. Shout out to Jerrell. We don't re-sign Mo, we riot. I mean, listen, if you can keep a guy, and you got to make every effort to keep a guy with high upside in your program. If you're a championship level team, if you can do that, like bring those guys along, I think that's great. And again, he's not in a position where you're counting on him game in and game out. He comes in, he gives you what he has, and if he doesn't have it, he doesn't have it, and that's fine. You're still okay. And I love having young players in those types of positions. Shout out to Tony Crow, Knicks and Bruises. Appreciate you, bro. I miss you. Hit that like button. Great way to bounce back. No doubt about it.
One of the great ones, Tony Crow, man. If you're not checking out his work and his shows, you're missing out.
Yeah. For sure. And as a matter of fact, I might even have it, but you guys, all right. That's the QR code for Knicks and Bruises right over Geoff. So definitely subscribe to Knicks and Bruises for sure. We'll get up soon, Tony. I mean, I'm not sure where to go next. I thought, Josh Hart was in a little bit of foul trouble, a little bit. I think he third, and he came back in. He picked up before they can get him out, he picked up the fourth. And he was like, no. And then you pick up another before they can even get you out the game. Like, relax. 19.6 rebounds, 3 assists, 7 of 14, took 14 shots. Wow. Second most on the team. Still managed 26 minutes. I thought he was fine. Karl-Anthony Towns, 11 and 10, only 3 of 9 from the field, 0 for 2 from the 3-point line. And then, Geoff, you can comment after I go through this. Mitchell Robinson, 5 points, 9 rebounds, 2 assists. Only played 16 minutes. I think that was because I'm not sure, but I know they were fouling him. He missed his first 4. They were fouling him on purpose intentionally. He missed his first 4. I think he hit the next, was it 2? I think he hit the next 2, if I'm not mistaken, or 1 of 2. So his minutes may have been limited to that, and not sure. And then Kolek came in. I mean, this was in the fourth quarter when Mike Brown had pulled the starters, and he hit his first 3-point shot. But any thoughts on those players and anybody else that I didn't mention?
Yeah, I want to start with Towns because he didn't have a great game statistically, but I think that his gravity is just such a difference maker. And I want to talk about gravity for a minute because I think between he and Mitchell Robinson, who specifically against Boston, because of the way that team is constructed, Robinson, when he's on the court, has an interesting gravity. They have to send 2 people to him when they're, to keep him off the offensive glass because he's so strong. And that opens up opportunities for the Knicks, other players to get involved. And it's kind of a funny thing that I've never seen except maybe, and I didn't ever pay attention to it when he played, but I'm sure that it was the case when he did. Was Dennis Rodman, I imagine, had a similar effect. But the guy creates space just because people are worried about him getting on the offensive glass. And, I think that of Robinson's 9 rebounds, weren't 7 of them on the defensive side, which is kind of unique for him. But I think he really impacted the game, with his defense, and to the point that, Mazzulla was like, yeah, we got to get this guy off the floor. We just got to start fouling him, and
but he did that before Mitchell Robinson even did anything. Like that. That's just Mazzulla's MO. It's like, we're not going to even let him get rolling.
But that speaks volumes. You're willing to get in the penalty. In other words, because if you're in the penalty and then that guy sits the rest of the quarter and you've got Brunson and Cat, all of a sudden you could be having a free throw parade, right? I mean, so even it doesn't really matter when that decision is made, but just the fact that they're so worried about this guy that they're willing to injure themselves in another way by putting themselves in the penalty early is really fascinating to me. But again, I think some of the kudos goes back to players like Alvarado and Diawara, because we were able to maintain our defensive fortitude, a level of energy and play, even when Robinson wasn't on the floor. And he was very good. Again, by the way, I thought other than the Detroit game, I think during this stretch, he and Brunson have both kind of been really solid of late. So that's encouraging. And again, he's playing. This is kind of the playoff schedule, right? Because we're playing every other day right now, it feels like. And so it's good to see him not missing games and being in there and being active. And did he really have 9 rebounds in 16 minutes? That's crazy. But Paul, that just hit me. Like, in 9 rebounds for a game is a lot of rebounds for most people other than Towns. But to do that in a third of the game, that's crazy.
Yeah. They also, as far as the Knicks defense is concerned, Boston shot 37% for the game and just 17% from the 3-point line. And I do think the Knicks defense had a lot to do with that. I mean, you could say they missed shots as well, but I just thought the Knicks defense was really disciplined. There was one time where Brunson was on Jaylen Brown, and the Knicks did not overreact. If you're going to shoot over the top of Brunson, you're going to shoot over the top of Brunson, and it's okay, And so when I was watching it and I saw that, and I didn't see them swarming to help Brunson, I said, "Good, thank you." This must have been pointed out during the film session, or maybe just a change in the scheme. And they took 9 more shots than the Knicks, but when you're shooting 37% from the field, it's just not going to make much of a difference. So kudos to the Knicks for that. They did limit the Knicks to 11 second chance points. The Knicks had 16 fast break points to Boston's 4. And, Boston was stout as far as points in the paint, though, 52-38. And then I will point out with Vucevic that Boston was outscored by 24 points in the 23 minutes that he played. And this is what we talked about in terms of, it'll probably take some time, for them to get that together. But for all that he brings, on the offensive end, they have to, figure out a way to work that out. But for the Knicks, that was great for us. And it could have been a little bit of him getting acclimated. And I think some of it was the Knicks as well, the Knicks defense on him. So, yeah, I mean, kudos to the Knicks last night. That was that was a good one. It was good to watch, and it was good to see them respond. That tells you a lot. That tells me more about the Knicks than the Detroit game, in my opinion. Anything else before we get to the chat?
Yeah, just one other thing. I do want to just recognize that it's the greatest day in Boston sports history since the trading of Babe Ruth. I think as Jets and Giants fans, we can all appreciate the Patriots losing, and the Celtics getting crushed on the same day is, for someone who's as anti-Boston as I am, that I'm smiling like a butcher's dog today, man. No fan base deserves a beat down like they got yesterday than that group. So glorious day, and I can't wait to hear and see what the chat is up to.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Let's get to it. JJ, that's what a captain does after a poor game. They bounce back with a great one. Yep. And that's exactly what he did. Shout out to Jess Knicks. We appreciate you. Latoria B, we appreciate you. Ivory 1031, appreciate you as well. Really hoping people see the value of an experienced guy like Big Alvarado showed last night. Kolek, watch and learn what defense can bring. I mean, listen, Kolek is a different player. And I think Kolek's defense, his fight, at least his physicality, he might not be able to do much as far as his lateral speed is concerned, but his physicality on the defensive end, his fight on the defensive end, I mean, it's a limitation. Like he's doing the best he can. Alvarado brings some things Kolek doesn't bring, and Kolek brings some things that Alvarado doesn't bring. And so it's good to have both of them on the team.
For sure.
J-Tab, been a minute. Appreciate you. Incredible run the Knicks are on. 9-1 over their last 10. But to Jeff's point, Detroit has been 7-3. Boston 7-3, Cleveland 8-2, Toronto 7-3, and Philly 7-3, and Charlotte, who just squeaked into the 10th spot, 9-1. We don't have to worry about them, I don't think, in the regular season unless the bottom falls out. But that top crust, as Geoff eloquently put it, they're playing well. Also, and Cleveland has won their last 3.
And with Harden on that team, they're going to continue their regular season dominance. I have a feeling that if you're looking for a team that's a potential riser in the Eastern Conference standings, I think, and the Cavs were playing pretty well before they got him, but he's a better player than Darius Garland. So if they're healthy, I expect them to continue to climb. How they perform in the postseason, different conversation. That's never been Harden's. He's not usually a playoff riser, as they say. So that's a different conversation. But as far as these regular season games and down the stretch, expect Cleveland to be right there in the mix.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to Keith Turner. Shout out to, what is that? Questant One. Hope I got that right. JJ, I'm starting to wonder if Cat is ever going to get right offensively this season. Yeah, kind of up and down offensively. I do think overall he's kind of accepting that this is his role, right? Sometimes he'll get the ball, sometimes he doesn't, but he stays engaged. You know, he continues to, to rebound for us. I think it was Sherwin who believes that this is the best Cat has been playing. I don't know if I agree with that, but just in case you guys don't know, this Cat is the best Cat we have seen. He is a winning player lately. I don't care if he scores 2 points. Basketball is more than scoring 20 points. I don't know if this is the best we've seen, but he's playing okay. Go ahead, Jeff.
The best is when he combines the two, right? It doesn't need to be an either or. It can be an and situation. Like if he can play defense like he's been lately, which has been much improved, I think we can all agree. And if he can continue the rebounding and then get back to shooting at a high percentage, the 50, 40, 80, that's when you have all three. And that's the standard of an all-star player that we expect. And that's why, when he has 10, 11, 12-point games consistently, we're like, well, what's going on? And his shot has not been the same this year. I don't know if it's injuries that he's dealing with or something else, but even shot, I mean, I don't think his shot diet has changed particularly. I just think he's not really making as many of the shots that he's used to taking. So I don't know. I don't know if it's an injury or what, but it's certainly a curiosity or an oddity to say the least. And hopefully it fixes itself by the time April and May and June roll around.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Dwayne Dennis, in reference to Brunson and Detroit's physicality and how Brunson played against them in the playoffs, that was last year. He has to replicate that performance last year. Come playoff time, when the anxiety is times 100, is Detroit physical play going to take Brunson out of his game? Why does he have to? I mean, of course you have to replicate it, because we're trying to win the series. You know what I mean?
But we've seen that he can do it. It's not like he's never done it, right?
Right, exactly.
If you have the muscle memory, you just have to recall it. If you've never done something, it's like winning a championship is why it's so hard, because the Knicks have never done it, right? This group has never done it. I mean, the team has done it like 100 years ago, but this team has never done it. Until you go through it, you don't really know what it takes until you cross that finish line and are able to do it. And a team like Boston, those guys have it. They know what it takes. Oklahoma City knows what it takes. And there's a difference between the Knicks and the Pistons right now. We know what it takes to beat Detroit in a playoff series because we've done it before. Not saying that doesn't mean they won't get their revenge this time around. They most certainly could. But there's a knowledge base there for the Knicks to say that, oh yeah, we've done this before. We have that in us and we know what to do.
Let's just stop the BS when it comes to Brunson and physicality. I mean, does he have bad games ever so often? Yes. But I'm just not buying into the narrative that Brunson struggles against physical players. I'm not buying into it. We've seen him play against physical players, taller players, longer players, stronger players since he's been here. So I'm not buying into the narrative over one game, even 5 games. I'm not buying into the narrative when you've seen somebody for 4 or maybe even 5 seasons. You're just not going to get me to believe that. Does it happen? Does it happen at times? Sure. But this narrative that he struggles just overall against physical, you're just not going to get me to believe it.
Eric Spoelstra threw every defensive weapon that he had in that Miami Heat series 3 years ago, and he still was averaging 30 points a game. We lost the series, yes, but I mean, it is in terms of stopping Brunson or causing him to not be able to perform. That's just a fallacy. I mean, he just did what he wanted and they couldn't stop him. And that's what the great players do. If you're truly elite, the defense can do what it wants, but I'm gonna take over anyway. And yes, we've had some times where that hasn't been the case, but more often than not, I mean, look at his playoff stats. Every year he's a playoff riser. He does better in the postseason than he does in the regular season. And so we know he's going to step up, and we know he's a top 5 player in the game, top 10 at the least, if y'all want to be down on him. But in my opinion, he's a top 5 player in the game, one of the best scorers the league has ever seen in terms of 3 levels and having a bag and being able to get to the line and getting people off balance and the stuff that he can do is really incredible.
And does he have bad games at times? Yes. I'm not saying that. And is it times that maybe the physicality throws him off his spots? Yes. But overall, is that a concern for me? Absolutely not. JJ, Celtics have a bunch of guys in the starting lineup I've never heard of. Pretty amazing where they are in the standings. Those guys have really stepped up for them for sure. Jerrell, Jose is a dog. Brooklyn, no doubt. Nick Loyalty, appreciate you. Alvarado is a solution to an obvious void on this team. The energy and know-how needed to play the position is what he showed in his debut. That is an excellent
great comment right there. Terrific.
Yeah. Old head, appreciate you for the win. You were so right. This game showed the Knicks needed another point guard. Blowout wins when Brunson sits. We still have 2 point guards. Okay. All right. Appreciate that. Alvarado doesn't struggle with ball pressure like Kolick does. Yeah. Charles Turner, we can also sit out Brunson for rest.
That's not good. Hey, now I'm not. You get arrested the All-Star break. I don't know about this sitting out Brunson for rest business. Like,
but if he has to sit out, you have somebody that can at least run the offense. Jerrell, as a fan base, I hope we stop saying something won't work until we actually see it first. JB and Jose might not work analytically, but that doesn't mean it can't work. Yeah. And Mike Brown has shown he has no qualms with putting 2 small guard players out there. King Scientist, appreciate you. Salute Queen and Geoff. Jose is from Brooklyn, just in case you didn't know.
So where is he from? He's from
Brooklyn.
Okay.
Nick Nation, Kolick actually did get some minutes and came in and knocked down a couple of threes off the dribble, but Jose looked good. I like the fact he didn't have to think too much, but just come in and play ball. Yes, for sure. David Elbire, hey panel, just a quick observation. Knicks are playing possum with Detroit. They did it with the Celtics last year, and they did it with the Cavs a couple of years before that. I am not scared of Detroit. I'm not scared of Detroit either, but I think the Knicks wanted to win that game. You couldn't tell. Like, I don't know if they came in saying, listen, we're just going to take it easy.
Well, I live in the country, David, and sometimes a possum just gets knocked over the head with a shovel and gets killed. So you don't want to play possum too much.
Nick Nation, again, I still reserve the right to see more before I can make a real assessment of him on this team. But right now, I enjoyed his raw energy and his ability to pick up from 90 feet and press these guys on ball. Absolutely. And I think you're going to also see his ability to run an offense. His ability to run an offense is definitely there. Kev Berg, shout out to the New England Patriots for stinking up the joint last night. I knew you had it in you. He also said that Diawara will definitely develop into a NBA player in the rotation. Yeah,
if he stays healthy, no doubt about it. I agree with that. There's no question. He has all the tools.
Yeah. Let me see if I missed anything. Andrew K, I appreciate you. Team defense efficiency ranking has improved from number 17 to a number 11, going in the right direction. Diawara ain't bad. Now you trolling or you just not convinced yet? Okay. Nick Nation, I hope we can keep Diawara. He's a restricted free agent. If someone throws money at him, he's gone. Poison pill. Let me tell you though. Well, maybe one of these teams that has a lot of cap space, may do that. But teams are really like minding their cap space nowadays.
Yeah.
Jaylen Brown is a great player, having an MVP season, and the Knicks defense really frustrated him. Yeah.
Amen. Great comment.
Yeah. Tony Crow, Boston, big mad. Yeah. Yeah. Great weekend. My Tar Heels beat the Dukies at the buzzer too.
They sure did. That was a wild game.
Oh boy. Anagro won. I think the entire team can learn about fight and compete level defensively from Alvarado. His energy is contagious.
That's the hope.
Yep. Yeah, Tony, you're right. I'm saying we don't have to worry about Charlotte in the regular season anyway, but they could be a first-round matchup. Yeah.
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 If they keep it, the funny part about that is they're 9-1 in their last 10, and I think they're still 3 games under 500. That's how bad a start to the regular season they had. But as of right now, nobody in the play-in situation wants any part of that Hornets team. They really are clicking on all cylinders. But it's, how you're playing in February doesn't necessarily always equate to how you're playing in April, May, and June. Like I've seen, if you win 9 games, you're not a fluke by any stretch of the imagination. Right. Let's be clear about that. Like you have to be good to win that many games in a row for sure. And I've been a fan of Charlotte's talent, so I kind of feel like they're playing up to that now. But I think it's dangerous to draw conclusions from early mid-February as to what things are going to look like come April, May, and June.
Yeah. David Elby, if Cat shows up in any series, we win in 6, even OKC. I'm on an island by myself, but I believe in Cat, particularly in the playoffs. He showed up for us last year. Did he have some bad games in the playoffs? Yes, he did, but he wasn't the only one.
You're not on an island, and if you are, remember that David Smith is the governor of that island.
That's true.
So you're not by yourself. If you may be, if there's an island, there are other people who are living on the island.
Right.
So and for the record, I believe in towns myself. I'm not out or down on towns like some people are. I think he's fine and he'll figure it out and we're gonna move forward. So,
and he's not the only high level player that's a one-way player in this league.
Oh no, there's tons of them.
There's tons of them. You just have to construct your team in such a way to mitigate that. Shout out to Lee. We appreciate you. Yeah, you're one of our faves as well. I think I can confidently say that for Geoff. Appreciate you. Curtis D. Young, Cat has been rebounding out of this world. Yep. Up into Brown and being physical and navigating screens. Those tricks take maximum effort. I believe he's talking about Diawara.
But the cool part about Kumo D is if he does get in foul trouble, that's okay too, because he's normally he's not going to be a regular heavy minutes guy in the rotation. So if he comes in and he picks up some fouls, so what? Even if he fouls out, it's not really a big deal.
Right.
That he can. It was a little bit more last night because we didn't have OG, but it's getting harder and harder to make Diawara situational just with the way that he's been performing. Not to say that it won't happen when we're at full strength, if we get to full strength, but we're without Deuce for the rest of the regular season. So I think that's going to afford him some time for at least the balance of the regular season.
For sure. Marco Polo, 1827. How can we get Mikal Bridges to attack the basket more? I know people that's not part of his game. In order to win, those have those have to be part of it. Makes it easier. So I had a long conversation with Geoff. Was it yesterday? Oh, and kudos to you, Geoff and Knick Nation, for doing the pregame. Excuse me, the recap.
It was Saturday.
Last game. You guys did a great job. I was listening to it while I was driving, so I feel real comfortable if I need to take some time off that you guys can hold it down. But after that conversation, with Geoff, I've always said I'm not going to get on Mikal for not going to the line, for not being a great rebounder, because he's never been. Like you can't expect players to be something they've never been. I do think the Knicks expected, because of his experience with Brooklyn, that they expected that, if Brunson was out or in foul trouble, that here is somebody who can step up offensively and create for himself and create for others, because he did it in Brooklyn for a season and a half. But now I think my frustration with Brunson is maybe that was an expectation of mine, that when those guys are out, he's going to step up and draw on his experience with Brooklyn and now go into that number one spot, because you can argue that he wasn't great at it, but at least he had the experience doing it for a year and a half, that he would do that. And I think that was part of my frustration, that I have this expectation because he's done it before, he would do it again in this situation. And I think I'm just laying off of that. Like I gotta let that go. I gotta even let that go. And this is Mikal. Like, he's a team player. He's somebody that's, going to play within the flow of the game. If it comes to him, it comes to him. If he doesn't, it doesn't. If there's another pass to be made, he's going to make that pass, as opposed to putting pressure on the defense. Like, this is just him. And so.
And he's not going to average 5 free throw attempts per game, no matter how hard we wish.
Right. But that was never him anyway, right? I think. Yeah, I don't think that was ever him. So. It is what it is with Mikal. I think the Knicks have a decision to make, whether they keep him or move off of him and use that money to do some other things for this team, because I'm over the 5 draft picks, but I do wonder, can you get someone that does what he does, maybe not as efficiently, for less money? And if that allows us to keep a Mo, Mitch, Shamit, extend Alvarado, not sure. All right. Yes. If you haven't already, please, the link is in the description. The QR code is there. I switched it from Tony Crow. Now the QR code is for our Facebook page. I think I haven't checked yet, but another 10, maybe 8 subscribers, so that we can then begin streaming to Facebook. So the link is in the description. Just click on it. Subscribe to the channel so we can begin to stream there as well. Geoff probably could answer this question. Diawara is a rookie. Why is he a free agent at season's end?
So he's a second-round pick, and so I'm pretty sure they used the second round pick exception to sign him, and that's just the type of deal that it is. It's a 1-year deal that after they think that he becomes a restricted free agent. So there is still some semblance of team control, but it's not a deal. I don't think you can put team options or player options on that specific type of deal. I could be mistaken, but the rules are complicated. I don't have a full grasp on them, but I believe it's a situation similar to that, where he was the guy who was keeping us under that second apron, right? Like, because when we used the taxpayer MLE on Yabusele, we capped ourselves at the second apron, so we had to maneuver and make moves and design our contracts around staying below that apron. And so I think that the Diawara deal kind of fell in that. And the other thing is we're operating with more knowledge now than we were when we signed him, right? He was a late second round pick. You don't necessarily just throw long-term money and deals at those kinds of players, because they very often don't pan out. So he's showing like he's playing above his station, if you will, a lot like Denise Jenkins is for Detroit. He's just a guy who's flourishing and is a surprise. And so a lot of times that happens when you have a guy under, who's talented, but not necessarily, you don't necessarily know where he's going to fit in, right. Or if he really truly is an NBA level talent. You can't tell that until you get him in camp and you get him on the court. But we'll be able to bring back Diawara. I'm confident in that. Yeah. And first round picks salaries are guaranteed, and second round picks aren't. So this is the contract the Knicks signed him to. Cav Berg, Brunson struggled so much against physical teams that he got booed every time he touched the ball in Detroit. Yeah. Tongue in cheek. I got you. Travel Vibes, appreciate you. Just passing through, showing love. Peace, chat. Appreciate you. And Magellan, I wish we had a bona fide power forward. Diawara would be a good back. Already his rookie season. Yeah. Yep. Okay. David Smith, appreciate you. It's been a minute, David Smith. Where you been? The offense is a guard featured offense like Golden State with a Tibbs roster. It is a complete waste of Towns' talent and OG and others' talent. Only Brunson, Deuce, and Shamet benefit. I think OG is benefiting as well. I think Bridges could benefit. I just think, he chooses not to.
He just, he chooses not to. Jerrell, he definitely expected the game to run through Bridges more often. He was his X factor. Yep. Finesseful J, I appreciate you. If this is your first time, welcome. If not, welcome back. And that's to all the first timers in the chat. Appreciate you. I want to see Bridges and Cat get more time with Alvarado. Yeah.
Especially Cat. Fascinated by the Towns Alvarado pairing.
Sherwin, you can't win playing a center 50 mil who's a one-way player. A one-way point guard is not the same as a one-way center. I hear you. David Smith, Brunson played like garbage without Cat against Detroit, losing by 38 points. Brunson shot 4 for 20. Most people not giving Brunson any smoke or criticism as usual. You weren't here. You weren't here against the Detroit post game. He didn't play, he didn't play well. And listen, this is, again, you can't just take one. So Brunson didn't play that one game without Cat. One game. What all of the games since they've played together, has Brunson shot terribly every single game without Cat? I mean, we gotta relax with this. We take one game and we infer so much from the one game. So he shot bad. Was it because of the physicality of Detroit? Because Cat wasn't there? I mean, listen, not having two of your top 3 scorers in the game it is going to affect you. But I'm not going to just say he struggled because Cat wasn't there.
And we're 0-6 when Brunson doesn't play this year. So does that mean that Cat's not stepping up when Brunson is gone? You can cherry pick these things in small sample sizes. I don't think it's fair to either player. And at least on this program, you hear us be critical of Brunson when he doesn't have a good game. We're not gonna spare his feelings, and we all have said that we feel like he needs to get more shots, and so. I think maybe your frustration is maybe at Knicks Nation at large, not Knick Nation or Knicks Nation, but the Knicks fan base at large. about the opinions on Towns, but I think we're for the most part pretty fair about our evaluation on Cat, and I think you've heard consistently that we think he needs a bigger role in the offense, and that Brunson and Cat Brunson hasn't done a good job of featuring Towns and putting him in the best position to score. So. And we'll continue to say that until the truth becomes something different. Like that's the thing. We're going to look at the facts, and then we're going to base our opinion based on the facts that we see out on the court right now. I mean, there's a, if I didn't think Jose Alvarado was going to fit, that was my initial impression. The facts of the moment say that's a completely wrong opinion. So I'm going to go with what the facts are stating at a certain time. If he tails off and starts to play poorly and it's not helping the Knicks, then I can revert back to the old opinion. But if he continues to play like he is, I'm going to keep my opinion based on the facts. So, I think that as long as we stay grounded in the facts, because the facts don't care about our feelings, then we're going to give you the best content possible.
Facts. JT Ortiz, I like Jose and JB playing together. It allows JB to play free, and Jose has proven to guard anyone, even players much taller. Okay. Coach Malpatka, I hope I got that right. Cat has earned max salary status by the parameters of the CBA agreement. Can't earn that much without being an all NBA player, which the league elects, the league selects, not the Knicks or Cat's agent. And being number one in rebounding in the league and best scoring center isn't necessarily a one-way player. So we have found the vice president of
the island.
I appreciate you.
But I also have told that David Smith owns the island and is not just the governor. So I got corrected on that, but I think it was Kev Burke.
Right. Could he be better on defense? Of course. Yeah. He's
played solidly defensively, though. All of the advanced metrics paint Towns as a reasonable defender this year, despite what the eye test may tell you.
Yeah. Wiz BKLA, appreciate you. I would swap Mikal for Trey Murphy the third. I have been president of the Deuce and Diawara Hives. Oh, now you're going to throw Diawara in there? Okay. All right. I underestimated GTA, Grand Theft Auto, Alvarado, even though I am also from Brooklyn. Never again. Yes, they did, Lonnie Meeks. Newsflash. Inokaka or Inokaka? Sorry about that. Appreciate you, though. Newsflash, I don't see Detroit going too far. They are good in the season, but when the whistle is swallowed in the playoffs, I think they will be exposed. They are butchers. Salute, Replay Gang. Ah, man, we got somebody from the Replay Gang. I appreciate you. To me, I wonder about their... I'm not taking anything away from them. Like right now in the regular season, they're just playing lights out. They're playing better than the Knicks, and they're a better team than the Knicks right now. I'm not taking anything away from them. That's just facts. In the playoffs, I wonder about the shooting and the lack of a secondary scorer. That's it. Because the playoffs is just a different ball game, And then you can also say even a secondary playmaker. Right? Schroeder really helped them last year, being able to handle the ball with K. K can play off the ball a little bit. I'm not sure they have that versatility, this season. If you're able to get back and take away their transition points and they have to play every possession or most possessions against a set defense, you wonder if they're going to have the shooting and the playmaking and, to win series in the playoffs. But the Knicks have their own issues in the playoffs, and every team does. That's why you play the games, right? Every team in a playoff series, there are no secrets. The weaknesses of the team. You're trying to exploit it. Can they overcome it, right? We're going to see, if we match up with Detroit and we take away their shooting, Can they score? Now, they shot lights out against us, I think 17 from 40, in that when we played them. If they shoot like that, they're not a good 3-point shooting team. They don't even take 40 3-pointers a game. But if they're going to shoot like that in the playoffs, they're going to win the championship. If they're going to consistently shoot like that with their physicality and their defense, they're going to win the chip. I just don't think that's them.
Facts. Great analysis right there. I don't have anything to add. I think that's spot on.
Yeah. East Blue Drew, but seeing how we played yesterday, when are fully healthy with Deuce and OG back by playoffs, we can run so many different lineups, defensive oriented too. Yeah, the lineup versatility, you hit it right on the head, East Blue Drew. And it's one thing to have it. It's another thing to have a coach that will use it. And that's Mike Brown, right? He will use those different lineups. Sherwin, a center anchors the entire defensive system because they protect the rim. They directly influence the most efficient shots. Sherwin, I get what you're saying, but there are different ways to win, right? If you have stout perimeter defenders, that limits players getting to the rim. My point is that it's not just one player. It's how you construct the team around them or the lineups that Mike Brown puts around Cat. And Geoff has brought this out a few shows ago, that there are certain lineups that are plus lineups with Cat in it. There are certain lineups that are plus lineups with Brunson in it, right? It just depends on the lineups around them. That's how you see the game. You can only win by having a defensive-minded, rim-protecting center. But there are teams that have, every team that's won a championship hasn't had a great rim-protecting center. And they've won. They figured out other ways to do it. So there's more than one way to construct the roster to win a championship. But I hear you. That is definitely one way. Okay. All right. I think we are... Rumor that Clarkson isn't happy with his new role and getting DMPs. Is that true? I mean, I read his comments. I think he was talking to, what's his name? Christian Winfield. What is that his name?
Yeah.
From the Daily News. He just said it's different. He says, listen, Clarkson is a pro's pro. And he said that even in the quote. His minutes have been up and down. He's not getting the minutes that he's used to, the shots he's used to. He's in a different role. He's not going to be disruptive at all. And whatever the Knicks ask him to do, he's going to do. Yeah. So he may not be happy, but he's a pro's pro.
Credit to Clarkson, really, really being, as you said, a pro's pro, very high level of maturity, and people going at him on Twitter and he's responding. I think that as much as the source of all this, that he's not happy, but he's a good soldier and he's doing what we're asking him to do. And right now, he's probably at the place in the pecking order where he belongs, and that's not an indictment of Clarkson as much as it is, a compliment to the Knicks roster. We've got a lot of really good players here, and we have players who fill certain roles and needs, and he just hasn't fit in the way that you would hope, kind of like Yabusele didn't fit in the way that we had hoped. And, and there wasn't really a market for Clarkson. I would be surprised if he's with the team next year. I think that he'll move on next year, but he's a $14 million per year offensive player, and we got him for $3 million. So I think that was a worthwhile gamble, and it hasn't really paid off, but that doesn't mean that it won't come playoff time in game 4. And we've got foul trouble and injuries. He might not come in and go nuclear for a half and win us a ball game, because that certainly could happen.
Yeah. Who is BK? By the way, I'm a president of the Queens Hive and vice president of the Geoff Hive, live and replay gang. I appreciate you always. Jose Gensight, the last time the Knicks played the Pistons made 17 threes, and that ain't happening in the playoffs. All right. We shall see.
Well, if it does, they're going to beat us. Let's just put it that way. But if it doesn't, I like our chances.
Okay. I thought he meant 17 for the series. Nah, that can't be right. Maybe
No, it was in one game.
It was in one game. Okay.
Both games, actually. I think they had 17 threes in each beatdown that they gave us. So it was a rinse and repeat from the first Detroit game to the second.
Yeah. Just a few more and we're out of here. This is just part of us, wanting the chat to be a part of the show and not just come here and listen to me and Geoff, but for us to also listen to what you guys have to say and to respond to it. So we appreciate you guys being with us, and we'll do our best to get to as many of the chat as we can, time permitting. Lonnie Meeks, numerous times Cat passed the ball to Brunson. Cat mans leave Cat open. Brunson does not get the ball back to Cat. Is that because Brunson can't see over the defense? I think he's been passing to Cat a bit more of late, and I don't have any answer. I don't have any answer to that question. I don't know. That's what we've been wondering all season. I don't know.
For sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Super chat.
We got a super chat. Okay. Nick Yak, 2 bigs working great. The little we seen yesterday. All right.
And better of late in general, I'll say. I thought it was a disaster at first, but I think Mitch and Towns are not only getting used to playing with each other, I think they really like each other. Like, I think genuinely they are starting to bond on the court, and you notice that. And we I think those sorts of things are important, and I think that we've seen that with those two. It's the double big lineup I wasn't a fan of in the beginning of the season. I think it's gotten a lot better.
Yeah. But I think it's also different as being a lineup you can go to and a starting lineup that you're playing like throughout the game, right?
Precisely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, I like it as well. Paris Doug, appreciate you, always rocking with us. We appreciate the super chats. We really do. No doubt in my mind, Alvarado will help all the bench players get their proper shots. That is a great point. Him and Diawara are huge finds to the team. Diawara, a real player. Definitely agree with you.
Great comment. Thank you for the super chat, but that's 100% spot on in my opinion.
And just to go back to Clarkson, I think part of him not fitting in is just having so many shooting guards on this team, and you wonder how it would have been if he was in the game with a point guard. Like, you just wonder if that would have been better with better.
I'm kind of wondering if you had Alvarado and Clarkson and then Bridges and Anunoby together. I think you would see, and whoever, either Mitch or Towns at center, I think you would find a very effective version of Jordan Clarkson, because he would be insulated defensively, and he would be able to do his thing as creation wise on offense. And I think part of the problem lately with Clarkson is we were forced to put him in lineups that had Kolek and Brunson, kind of as a collective three out there. And that's just not a combination that works, because it doesn't have enough stout defenders in there to make it work.
Yeah. I don't know if we were forced to do it. I think it's something Mike Brown did. And I'm not sure the lineups he's been in were optimized for him.
That's fair.
And I think we could get more out of Clarkson if he, but again, like a coach may say, listen, I can't optimize the lineup for for everybody. And he's just going to be the odd man out in terms of optimization. If that makes sense.
No, that's a fact. And by the way, you should, for a veteran player, that's how you should play it, right? That's
he's
definitely
a veteran player, but he's not a veteran player. Like, yeah. I just think Clarkson coming in, I just feel like, who he is. I just felt like we could have did a better job optimizing him. But it is what it is right now. The team is rolling. You can't just stop and like, we're going to optimize. You just can't. It is what it is. And I agree with you. I don't think he'll be back next season. Paris Duggar, Brunson says to Cat, make shots if you want the ball. Well, you got to get the ball and make shots. And you got to get the ball consistently to make shots,
Yeah, Yeah, you can't just say, "Oh, you missed your first two shots. I'm not getting you the ball anymore." I don't think he does that, by the way, but I think that is a little tongue in cheek by Parrish, and there may be a jab at Towns. I don't know, but they definitely need to improve the chemistry between our two biggest stars. That is the big question for us in terms of our ceiling as a group. In my opinion, is if we can develop synergy at the top, I think everything else will fall into place, and we become really difficult to stop.
Yeah, for sure. That was an excellent take by Geoff. Geoff started, so I had to put it up.
I did not either, Queen. You set me up now. You set me up now. I did not start that comment.
I just wanted to show you some love from the chat, Geoff. Last one, East Blue Drew. I did notice Jose doing what point guard's supposed to do when he went to JB and asked where he likes the ball. And JB said, just play his game. But I feel that's exactly what a point guard is supposed. Yeah, he has that mentality. It's just natural. It's who he is. He's a point, he's a point guard. Now, Brunson was still on. He was playing off ball when Brunson was when he was in with Brunson. But hopefully that changed. Oh, yeah. He did get into it with a few fans on Twitter. You're absolutely right. He's a pro in the locker room. But on Twitter, he did get into it with a few fans. That's correct. Anyway, I appreciate everybody in the chat coming rocking. Wait, hold up. Wait a minute. Belt to ass was activated. Yes, it was, sis. Jaylen Brown and Derek White were in a trance on the bench, reevaluating life. Oh, I love this. I love this comment. Yeah, absolutely.
That's poetry right there, Chem Doc. That's crazy. What an image. That's awesome.
Yeah, I appreciate that. But shout out to the chat, shout out to the replay gang, shout out to the silent listeners. We appreciate you helping this community grow. And we're gonna do our best again to make sure it's not just you guys consuming content. But being a part of it, our new motto is we're not just creating content, we're creating community. That's something we're trying to do. And we'll get better at it as time, goes on. But we'll be back. The Knicks play I'm not sure if there's going to be a show tonight because I have so much to do. But if you have your notifications on, you'll know if I do decide to go on. They play Indiana Tuesday, right? So we'll be back Wednesday. 12:30.
And Thursday, because they play Philly for the second night of a back-to-back for the third time this year on Wednesday.
All right.
So we'll have
Thursday
Wednesday and Thursday show. And then the All-Star break. Okay. So Detroit and Houston are on the other side of the All-Star break. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. That's great. Geoff, always a pleasure. Anything else?
That's it.
All right. Until next time, family. Appreciate you.
Sister, you're one of a kind.
Yes.
Sister, it's time you shine.